Hello, and welcome to
Papi Approved Movies.
My name is Papi.
And I'm Natalie.
In our podcast, we'll review and critique my favorite PG-13 movies.
Movies that I wasn't allowed to watch until I turned 13.
Every other week, Natalie and I will watch a new PG-13 movie.
And I'll see if Papi's movies live up to the hype.
Which, of course, they will.
Today we're going to be watching Yesterday.
Before we begin, there will be spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie and don't want it to be spoiled,
Press pause and come back when you're finished. Now, Papi, tell me the deets on this movie.
okay. Yesterday came out in 2019 with a runtime of 1 hour and 56 minutes. Not streaming anywhere. We had to rent it on Amazon. It was written by Richard Curtis and Jack Barth and directed by Danny Boyle. The main stars are Himesh Patel, Lily James, and Sophia DiMartino. Fun facts, although the Beatles didn't have any creative input on this film, they did give their blessings to have it made. McCartney even joked that they should name it Scrambled Eggs, which is a reference to the original name of the song Yesterday. So before they came up with the final name of the word yesterday, before they came up with the lyrics, the working name was Scrambled Eggs.
That sounds completely different.
Yeah, I wonder what his idea was. Alright, like he just said, we'll call this song Scrambled Eggs. And then it became Yesterday, one of the most famous songs of all time. So what do you think, Nat?
I thought it was really good.
Oh yeah, you enjoyed it.
Yes, I enjoyed it. I thought some parts were a little bit unrealistic. But overall, I thought it was a great movie.
Okay, I'm happy. What do you rate it?
I give it a 4.5 stars.
Alright, a 4.5 stars is a good movie. First time in 13.4 years since you were born.
Actually, never mind. It is a pretty long time. I was going to say, actually, it was like 3 movies ago, but It really wasn't.
No. Anyways, I'm happy you enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. I like this movie. I thought it was sweet. I'm also a huge Beatles fan. We're actually going to watch a Beatles cover band show. It's Beatles versus the Rolling Stones in a couple of weeks. So
why don't we get into the recap?
Okay. The movie begins with Jack playing music for money at train stations, wharfs, coffee shops, and bars. At the bar, his friends Nick and Carol are there, and so is his best friend and manager, Ellie. Ellie tells him that she's booked him for a music festival called Latitude. At Latitude, Jack rocks out to an almost empty tent, consisting of his friends, an old couple, and a few kids. His friend Rocky, a stage manager for a local band, invites him backstage, but it goes sideways and Rocky gets fired in the middle of the performance. I don't know, I liked Rocky. What did you think of Rocky?
He was a goofy guy.
He was a goofy guy, but he was a loyal friend.
Yeah.
And he even showed up to his performance, which almost no one did other than his 2 real good friends, Nick and Carol, and then his best friend, Ellie. Jack is disheartened and wants to quit. He tells Ellie that Latitude was his last gig. She's been his biggest fan since they were 14 years old and tries to convince him to keep at it. But he's determined to hang up the microphone and he takes off on his bike. Why is he riding a bike when she's got a car?
Yeah, why wouldn't she just drop him off? This is what I mean by, like, there's some parts that just don't make sense.
Well, maybe he likes riding his bike. I don't know, but I go like, it'd be nice. You're like, hey, can we just give me a ride to the Latitude show? Like, he drove there with his equipment, right?
Yeah.
Then maybe all he had for equipment was just a guitar?
Probably. It's a music festival, so they probably have mics.
They have everything set up. No, but then they have stage guys, that like the backstage guys.
Yeah, well, they always have people.
Maybe he just needs a guitar. Anyways, he takes off with his guitar too. He could have just let her take the guitar too. You're like, why am I going to take a guitar on my bike? As Jack bikes home, a worldwide blackout occurs. Jack is bewildered and gets hit by a bus. He takes a nasty spill, breaking his 2 front teeth. Jack wakes up in the hospital and Ellie is there. She tells him that overall he's okay. At a get-together with his friends, they give him gag gifts to make fun of his missing teeth. It was kind of like a lot, the missing teeth.
Yeah, it was messed up.
Yeah. It was kind of yucky. I didn't want to see it. And he was like showing it off like funny-wise, you know?
Yeah.
And his friends give him like fake teeth and things like that.
Yeah.
Ellie gives him a new guitar to replace the one he broke. She asks him to play something, and he plays Yesterday. Ellie loves it and asks, when did he write that? And Jack tells her he didn't. He said the Beatles did. She looks perplexed and so does everyone else. They've never heard of the Beatles. He gets annoyed thinking they're playing a joke on him. On the way home, Jack asks Ellie if she truly doesn't know who the Beatles are, and she honestly says no. When he gets home, he looks up the Beatles online and there's no sign of them. He looks through his album collections and he can't find anything from the Beatles. Then he gets an idea. He starts to write down all the music and the lyrics for every Beatles song he knows. Do you think that everybody knows who the Beatles are?
Probably. Actually, no. Because like a few days after watching this movie, me and my friends were playing charades at school. We were doing celebrity charades, and the person was Paul McCartney. So I started singing like a Beatles song, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Ugh."
Yeah, they may not know.
So maybe not the youngest generation. I was like, Paul McCartney from the Beatles, and they're like, "I've never heard of the Beatles."
So it's not like he didn't just
It's not just the Paul McCartney thing. It's like the Beatles. I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening. I gotta write down all the lyrics that I definitely do not remember.
Eventually, no, I can't imagine that they'll go out of style.
But I'm saying the young, like probably half the younger generation doesn't know who they are.
Right. And then as you get older, let's say that kid, he's not going to play Beatles music for his child. Yeah. They'll never have heard it. And so eventually there'll be a whole generation that's never heard of the Beatles. I can't think of that. The Beatles are not from my generation. You know, they played music 20 years before I was born. I mean, they were around. Like, yeah, everybody was alive during the time I was alive, but like Beethoven's still popular, right? You know, Mozart's still popular, you think? Popular music, I don't know. I think eventually everybody figures out who the Beatles are, or has at least heard some of their songs without even knowing. Anyway, so all
I know is that they don't understand who Paul McCartney is, and they lost that point in charades.
Yeah, in this world, nobody knows who the Beatles are. Not just young high schoolers, but no one anywhere, everywhere. The next day, Jack asks her to book him one more gig. At the gig, he plays Beatles hits, but it goes poorly. And he starts to think the reason he's unsuccessful isn't about his music, it's about him. Luckily, Gavin, a recording producer, was there, and he liked Jack's stuff and gave Ellie his card. Jack and Ellie go to Gavin's studio and record a whole album full of Beatles hits. Later that night, Ellie gets him an interview on a local TV show. And on the show, Jack plays a song, and he and Ellie go home. Finally, she's giving him rides now. He doesn't have to take his bike broke, right? He doesn't have a bike anymore.
He had to go through a traumatic experience, but it's fine.
Lose his teeth. On the way home, Ed Sheeran calls to tell him he liked the song. But Jack hangs up thinking he's being pranked. And it's actually Ed Sheeran. I think, what was it, you or Sophia asked, I hear Ed Sheeran's in it. I'm like, yeah, he's a big role. He's not just like a cameo.
It was me. I was like, Ed Sheeran.
I'm a big fan of Ed Sheeran. You like Ed Sheeran too, right?
Yeah.
At home, Ed comes to Jack's house.
I wouldn't say I'm an Ed Sheeran fan, but some of his music is nice.
So you're like, I don't like Ed Sheeran, I just like his music.
Yeah. I don't really know much about Ed Sheeran.
Well, I mean, none of us do, right? I don't really know what the Beatles... I mean, you've seen like stuff about the Beatles. I'm a big Beatles fan, or I like Nirvana, but I don't know what Kurt Cobain's personal life was like, I mean, obviously he's gone now, rest in peace. But we don't know any of these people, even the actors, right? Like Himesh Patel, he's the guy who played Jack in this movie. I thought he was great. I mean, in real life, he might be really rude. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's not like... I'm trying to say that it's not like I'm actively waiting for his next release to drop out. Like, usually I don't even know when his music comes out.
Right. Yeah, maybe you're not
I'm just trying to not, offend the Ed Sheeran fans.
Well, it looks like you want to make sure that people know that you're not an Ed Sheeran fan. You're not a... What are his fans called?
I have no idea.
What are Olivia Rodrigo's fans called?
I have no idea. But I know that Taylor Swift's fans are Swifties.
Yeah.
And I know that Justin Bieber's fans are Believers.
Yeah. All right. And Sheeran's fans are, who knows? If you do know, email us at poppyapprovedmovies@gmail.com.
They're the Eds.
The Eds.
That's because Harry Styles fans are called the Harrys.
Are they really?
Yeah.
You would think they'd be like the Stylistics. I know that's a band, but you would think that'd be a cool one. Hey, we're the Stylistics. Maybe not. At home, Ed comes to Jack's house. He tells Jack that he loved the song and would like him to be his opening act in Russia.
I love how he just found his phone number and his house very easily.
Ed Sheeran. The guy can find anything he wants.
Yeah.
But he did show up. Ed Sheeran just shows up to your house. You're going to let him in, right?
Probably.
Except not you. You're not a fan. So.
I'll just stare outside.
You just wave at him and tell him, hand him a guitar and say, can you just play me a song?
I close the blinds. I twist them closed.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You just play from outside. We can hear you. All right. Jack excitedly says yes to the opening act in Russia. And he asks Ellie to join him, but she can't because she has a day job. And her day job is a teacher. So he calls Rocky to be his equipment manager. You would think he would call anybody else other than that Rocky guy.
Yeah, the one that's been fired like every single time.
Yeah. At the gig in Russia, Jack crushes it playing back in the USSR. All the fans have a wonderful time, except one man who looks sad and shocked during the show. He even looks that way after everybody's left. Following the show, Jack blows up on social media. At the after party, Ed comes up with the idea to have a songwriting contest. Ed goes first, and the crowd loves it. Then Jack plays Long and Winding Road, and the crowd is stunned. They didn't even say anything. They didn't clap or anything. They just kind of sat there. I mean, is it that great of a song where you're like, first time you heard it, you're like, I don't know what to say.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
The first time I heard that song, I wasn't like stunned. I was just like, meh.
Meh. That's a good song.
But like, I was also probably very young when I first heard it.
Probably.
So I don't think I cared about anything.
I can see that. Also, I think it's the circumstance of hearing it. It being in a competition, and it's the first time I ever came into the world. It's time to vote for the winner. And Ed says, no vote is necessary. And he concedes calling Jack Mozart. Later that night, Deborah, Ed's manager, tells Jack to come to LA, where she will make him rich and famous. I thought she was hilarious. It's played by Kate McKinnon. I think she's so funny in that movie.
She's annoying.
No, she cracked me up. Back at home, Ellie throws Jack a huge party. At the party, she's sad that he's leaving for LA, but she understands, and she's really happy for him. She also wants to know why he doesn't love her the way she loves him. And he just stands there and says nothing. I don't know if there's anything worse than if someone tells you that they love you, and you just stand there and say nothing. Like, you could have just said, I just want to be friends, or isn't our friendship more important, or I don't love you the same. Any of those would have been better than just standing there.
Because I feel like he just didn't understand that he also loved her. Like, he probably had this feeling where, like, no, I don't really want to just stay friends or anything. But, like, I don't know what else I want. And so you have nothing to say.
I mean, all of that would have made more sense than just sitting there. Because, do you love me? Like, it's like a blank answer on the test. Do you know the answer? Do you not know the... Like, I don't understand. Like, nothing is worse than a wrong answer. Even if you said, I don't... Even if he doesn't love her. Because maybe he doesn't. I don't know. He doesn't even know. He could just say that. I'm like, I'm confused. You're like my best friend. You're like the closest person to me in the whole world. But I don't know how I feel about that. As opposed to just standing there. And she's just... And she's like, I got it. And she walks out, you know?
Yeah.
In LA, Deborah sells Jack and he bites. Recording begins and he makes Beatles gold. He tries to fit his own song into the album, but it's rejected. The summer song. Everybody likes the summer song. This is his only hit that he had.
Yeah.
Deborah decides to release 5 songs online and get the crowd excited about his album drop. They release the 5 songs and they go viral. You know, I think we were talking about how music even works now. Because you can listen to any song you want on YouTube for free.
Yeah.
And then you were talking about Spotify.
Yes.
But you can listen to any song on Spotify for free too.
Yeah. Well, the artists will just release themselves.
Right. So are there no more albums?
Well, there are albums. The albums are on Spotify. It's one thing, and then it's like it plays all the songs in order.
But you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah. Well, it won't be in order if you don't pay for it, and sometimes there will be some other random songs mixed in.
Okay. It's a whole different world, right? With the whole online situation. Before you would get a CD, you would be able to hear it on the radio, but you wouldn't know when it's coming. You couldn't ask for it. You could record it off of the radio. People used to do that all the time. But then that would be some luck, right? You're like, I'm going to record the next 4 hours just to be able to get this next song.
And then you have to cut all of the front.
And then, delete it. Or you just start it. I remember, what was the song? It's called Paperboy. No, it was Paperboy's the group, and it's called Diddy. I remember just because it goes really, 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 really fast. And I wanted to know the lyrics, but there's no way you can learn the lyrics if you just hear it on the radio every few weeks. And I didn't want to buy it. So I recorded it off. But you're like standing there, like waiting to press the record button on the stereo. Then you're like, all right, next song, record. It's not it. Rewind. Record. Over. Rewind. Oh, finally I got it. And then I listened to it like 1,000 times and wrote down the lyrics just so I can get it. Different world before the internet. Now
the internet, you just look up the song and then put lyrics.
Yeah, that's too funny. Jack starts to struggle with some of his songs, and he asks Deborah if he can go to Liverpool for inspiration. That's where the Beatles are from. In Liverpool, he and Rocky go to famous Beatles sites. There, a woman looks on with the same face the man had in Russia. Sadness and shock. Then Jack meets up with Ellie and they laugh and drink together. They kiss and almost hook up, but then she changes her mind and she leaves.
He hasn't even said anything still about that other moment.
That's true. I thought that was kind of annoying that at the train station, so right after that she leaves, he changes his mind, he runs after her, and then LA calls, and then she's like, you can come with me or go to LA, but why is she making him choose?
I don't know. She just really can't handle long distance like that.
Yeah, but I mean, he drops the album and then he could just go home. He doesn't have to make another one.
Exactly. I don't know what her problem is.
It was a little weird when they've been friends for maybe 15 years.
And she's the one who's always wanting him to go after her dream. And now she's like, you either choose your dream or you can be with me.
Yeah, it was weird. Later he goes to record more songs, including Hey Dude, at Ed's insistence. During the recording session, Ellie calls to tell him that she's dating Gavin. What was the point of that? What would you call it? I'm dating Gavin.
By the way, since you followed your dream, I'm already with another man.
Yeah, you don't know how long has passed, right? Could be like a week, a month. Not the next day, who knows?
If it was the next day.
That'd be funny. They're like, yeah, I chose Gavin. Jack comes up with the idea to play on top of a hotel near his home for his album release. The crowd's huge, and his family and friends come. At the show, Jack rocks out, and we see the sad and shocked man and woman together in the crowd listening to Jack.
And they're waving a yellow submarine.
Were they rolling it? Did he see it then?
I don't think so.
Yeah. They give it to him later when they introduce him, but is that the song you would put out on that first album of Beatles hits? I don't know if I'd put out the Yellow Submarine first, but
I wouldn't remember it.
I would. Yellow Submarine's a good song.
I would only know the main part, and then whenever with the lyrics, I would not remember.
After the show, Ellie comes in to say goodbye. Then Rocky comes in and says two people want to talk to him, and he brings the Yellow Submarine to him, kind of like, uh-oh, they know something. They are the same sad couple from before. They tell him that they know he didn't write the songs. They remember the Beatles. But instead of saying they're going to rat him out, they just feel grateful to hear Beatles music. The lady tells him the world is an infinitely better place with the Beatles. As they leave, the lady gives them a note with an address.
I think this is another plot hole.
Why?
Because why are these two random people still able to remember the Beatles when the rest of the world didn't? And then I also have a theory.
Okay, maybe they all got hit by buses at the same time.
No, where people that got I guess that wouldn't make sense. But no one's really gets knocked unconscious at the same exact second in the world.
6 billion people. 7 billion? 6 or 7 billion people in the world. Probably everybody's doing the same thing as someone else out there.
But not the exact same, millisecond.
I bet you there's a baby. I bet you 12 babies are born right now. Like right when I finish saying now, I bet you 12 babies are born.
Yeah, but there's probably 12 people in the world that still know who the Beatles are.
Yeah, probably.
So what I'm saying is that people that got knocked unconscious right then are still a part of the same world. But everyone that was still up and running, their world got changed. But since they're unconscious, they're still kind of a part of the other world.
Right, maybe.
Because they got unconscious and they're still a part of the world and they didn't have the switch.
Uh-huh.
So the people that got put unconscious in that millisecond are probably the only people who remember the Beatles.
Right. Maybe that's 3. Maybe those
well,
3.
I'm saying there's probably 12 people, but not everyone can follow this guy around.
Right. Yeah. They don't have the money for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're not going to start an online blog about the real Beatles or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're happy that he actually is doing Beatles songs. And that was a nice little plot twist.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that the actor actually, he plays and sings every song himself?
Really?
Yeah, he's the one actually doing the music in the movie, so.
Oh.
Jack drives to a secluded house on the beach. When he gets there, he meets John Lennon. They talk, and John tells him to chase his heart. Jack tells him it's an honor to meet him and asks for a hug. John agrees and then calls him a weird man. This, to me, was a huge twist.
It was a pretty good part, but I also think it was kind of unnecessary.
Why?
Because, it's kind of random. It doesn't really fit.
Yeah,
he just goes to this random place at this random time and then meets the guy. He's like, you should go after your dreams. And that's practically the only thing he says to him. And then he just, the rest of the story continues.
I think this is his turning point because I think the guilt was getting to him. I think he realized, well, what's the use of fame and riches of these music if he doesn't have who he loves?
Yeah.
And I think he did that to kind of get his like inspiration from him. I also thought it was amazing they used John Lennon because, as we know, John Lennon's murdered in 1980.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't have been murdered if he wasn't one of the most famous musicians of all time.
Yeah, he would have still been alive.
Yeah, and so when I thought he was going to a place, my assumption would have been Paul McCartney's house, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's going to go to Paul McCartney's house. And when it turned out to be John Lennon, I just thought, what a nice twist. I would have never thought of it. It's creative. And I thought it was beautiful. I love that part.
And I feel like only like people that are actually like the Beatles can appreciate it.
Yeah, well, John Lennon was the most popular person in the Beatles. I don't know.
Well, he had his own music too.
Yeah, he had his own music. And so did Paul McCartney. He had his own band after they broke up with the Beatles.
Yeah, but I didn't do a school project on Paul McCartney. I did a school project on John Legend's song. John Lennon. Yeah. John Legend. Welcome to Team Legend.
No John Legend. John Lennon. Yes.
John Lennon.
Yeah. It would have been funny if people were like, hey, Ringo Starr. Nice to meet you. Like, nobody's going to Ringo Starr's house.
That's in the documentary.
Anyways, Jack has a plan after meeting John. And with Ed's help, Jack plays at Wembley. He invites Ellie to come. After he finishes his last song, he tells everyone that he didn't write the music. The Beatles did. That he will release every song online for free. And he actually does it. Then he professes his love to Ellie. Jack and Ellie leave together, and they are intimate at home. Inappropriate!
And Paul's just... Wait, is that his name? Paul?
Gavin.
Gavin's just standing there alone.
He
was dating her, and she just left him. I was like, dang.
He said the most mature thing I've ever heard. He's like, I always knew I was second. And that she was just with me because she couldn't have him. Time passes and Jack is playing music at an assembly. He and Ellie are married and have kids. The end. You think he's a teacher? He's a teacher now, right?
Yeah.
I know he's at the assembly. Those aren't all his students. She's probably still a teacher. He said he was a teacher before.
Because he said, I'm going to go back to teaching.
I'm going to go back to teaching. Because he gave up teaching and started working like at a Costco place.
Uh-huh.
So that way he can still do gigs and stuff like that. All right. Could this movie still be made today? I guess it's pretty much made today already.
Yeah, I didn't put anything. I still think that the whole, I released all the music for free. Like, it's already free. And the plot hole well, it's not really a plot hole, but the whole plot situation where he does that and everyone's like, it's okay. We forgive you. We love you still. Jack or whatever his name is, like in the crowd, like everyone in the crowd does that. And I'm like, no one would do that. Everyone would still be in like shock and like not everyone would forgive him like that. He would still have like a scandal. You
know, it's weird too, because when he said that, yeah, he would have a scandal, right? And then because afterwards, Deborah comes chasing after him.
Yeah.
She's going to sue him, right? She's going to break him. He's probably bankrupt, right? She's going to make his life miserable because she's a powerful woman and
he has a contract.
He has a contract. The fact that he named the people, he named all 4 Beatles, say that they're the ones that wrote it, and they're going to be like, I never wrote it. I don't know what he's talking about, right? Yeah. And then you start to think, is this guy delusional?
And he said, he didn't just say it was written by these people. He said it was written and performed by these people. Yeah. And so everyone's going to be performed by where?
You think John Lennon heard about it, right? You know, in his little house on the beach and thinking, what is that dude talking about? Like, it's crazy, you know? Yeah. So is he delusional? Is he hearing voices in his head? You know? I mean, we know the Beatles.
Everyone's going to like go crazy. Like, not everyone's just going to be like, we love you. Bye. Have a wonderful life.
Before we get to the Bechdel test, there's a couple other things I wanted to bring up. What are the things that don't exist in the world? We know the Beatles don't exist.
Oasis.
Oasis doesn't exist.
Which makes me like wonder why he didn't do Wonderwall. Like, why didn't he make Wonderwall?
Yeah, Wonderwall's a great song. Yeah,
especially since that was like his and Ellie's song, and he's just okay with it not having it in the universe.
Right. So what else? So no Oasis, no Beatles. You remember?
Coca-Cola.
No Coca-Cola. There's a couple of jokes there when they mistake Coca-Cola for cocaine, but yeah. No cigarettes. No cigarettes. So nobody smoked in this world.
Yippee! No lung cancer.
And then the last thing that he
But cocaine exists.
But cocaine exists, yeah. And the last thing that brought up, Harry Potter. So no Harry Potter in this world. And then I think he got the idea. I should write Harry Potter. I will make billions of dollars. All right. Does it pass the Bechdel test?
No.
No, I don't think it does. Let's go over the Bechdel test. The test to check for female representation in movies. There are 3 criteria. Criteria number 1 is, are there 2 or more female characters that are named?
Yes, there's the manager,
Deborah,
and then the love interest,
Ellie. Jeez Louise.
Ellie, and his other friend, Carol.
All right, terrible. Criteria number 2, do any of the female characters speak to each other?
No.
I don't think so. I mean, there's a scene where they're all talking to each other, but...
They're not talking to each other. They're just talking to...
No, the whole group is talking.
Yeah, but they're pretty much just talking to what's his name?
To him, yeah.
To Jake or whatever. Jack.
His name is Jack. My gosh. Is there any male characters? We don't even know. All right, so it does not pass the Bechdel test. All right, anything else about the movie?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you for tuning in to Papi Approved Movies.
If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast app or like our podcast on YouTube.
We put out an episode every Monday.
If you want to see extra podcast content, follow our TikTok at Papi Approved Movies.
If you want to suggest a movie for us to watch and critique,
email us at papiapprovedmovies@gmail.com.
That's papiapprovedmovies@gmail.com. No spaces, no caps.
We'll try our best to get to your suggestion. And remember, it has to be PG-13.
Next week, Sophia will be back and we'll be watching Grandma's Boy.
And I'll be back in 2 weeks to watch Scrooged.
I'm Papi.
And I'm Natalie.
See you next time.
Bye.